that the language requirement for all undergraduates be scrapped entirely. So it's not good news for language education writ large, but it's not a wholesale elimination that had originally been planned.
Can you place this in context for us? How dramatic a move is this for a university?
It's been known for decades that American students are less interested in taking languages, seeing less value in language education. These declines are not new. It's been a death by 1,000 cuts at various schools that have pared back their language offerings. What the head of the Modern Language Association told me is that schools that are investing in these programs see their enrollments thrive. And language apps, which are often used as a fig leaf for why we don't need to learn languages face-to-face, can only go so far. You can't really learn a culture or to speak a language from doing 15 minutes on an app every day. It just doesn't work that way, as all of us know. So there's still a vital place for language education, and those who are involved in it tell me that this is a wake-up call for the fact that they need to do a better job communicating their value and letting people know that studying the liberal arts still leads to a good career and earning prospects.
Axios' Jennifer Kingston. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you, Nyla.
After the break, what's behind the current business boom?
We all know a been there, done that person. You know, the one who thinks that they've been everywhere and done everything. To them we say, meet your match. Ontario, Canada. The place with a list of places to be and things to do so long that even the most been there, done that of people have yet to have been there and, well, done that. From eating at a Michelin-starred restaurant, to letting out your inner high lord, to one of the largest Oktoberfest celebrations outside of Germany. To be here, do that. Go to destinationontario.com/visit.
Come on.
Welcome back to Axios Today.
Wakey, wakey.
Business in the U.S. is booming. New openings have exceeded pre-pandemic 2019 levels every month this year. And according to a new report published yesterday by Yelp, new listings of shops and services on Yelp are on track to be 2022's all-time high. Axios' senior business reporter Hope King has been reporting on this. Hope, obviously a lot of businesses are doing better than they were during the pandemic, but why is this new business boom even bigger than it was pre-pandemic?
I think that we're still seeing the effects of the excess savings that we've talked about here in the past and of the return of travel. And that's certainly reflected in the types of businesses that are opening. If you look at some of the biggest categories of businesses that are driving these openings, it's RV rentals, it's travel agents. So that's really where you're still seeing demand coming from the consumer market.
And last week we talked about the boom we've seen, for example, in concert ticket sales. Does that also play into this events category of business growth?
It does, and get-togethers. The beverage and snack industry have said that based on their research, the rise in sales of salty snacks and snacks in general, it's because we're having more parties at home, we're entertaining. So, you know, for people who weren't able to travel to see friends and family, maybe even last year, I think they're finally feeling the confidence now to get together and have these social events. So we're still seeing the leftover demands of that.
And are we seeing business growth in other areas apart from things where it's people socializing or traveling and spending money in that arena?
Based on the data that Yelp has published this week, we're seeing the home services business still continue to grow, particularly in the Northeast. And if you think about the macro trend there, people who have been lucky to buy homes when interest rates were low, they're now seeing the home values appreciate. They're also maybe staying home more because of remote work, and so they're spending money on sprucing up their places. There's wear and tear if you're working from home a lot. So those are examples where they might need home improvement experts to come in to refinish, to renovate. So again, those are some of the lasting effects of the pandemic we're still seeing play out.
What kinds of growth are we seeing in minority-owned business, Hope?
So this was really promising. Based on Yelp's data, LGBTQ-owned businesses, they have been opening up at a rate of about 33%. Black-owned businesses have been opening up at a rate of about 28%. Latin-owned businesses up 28%, and those are all above that national average of 25%. So we're seeing that optimism continue to spread more evenly, potentially, throughout the economy versus being just concentrated maybe with folks who already had the means to start businesses in the past.
How does this type of growth fit into the bigger picture of what's going on with the broader economy right now?
So one of the things that Neil and Courtney have been reporting on is just how resilient the economy has been, and that's largely due to this consumer spending. And what that really reveals is that while interest rate hikes have been hurting certain parts of the economy, we know last year tech was hit hard, we know that banking was hit hard, because again of the excess savings and because of the demand that was pent up from the pandemic. Services, businesses continue to see spending come through because those businesses were not as impacted by those interest rate hikes. So I think that's one thing that we can tie in together with what we're seeing the consumers do at a very micro level and how that bubbles up to the macro level.
Hope King is author of the Daily Closer newsletter and a senior business reporter at Axios. Thanks, Hope.
Thanks, Nyla.
That's it for us today. You can always reach our team by emailing podcasts@axios.com, or you can text at 202-918-4893. I'm Nyla Boodoo. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
Welcome to Well Made, where we dive deep into all things wellness, self-improvement, and self-love. I'm your host, Kat Kamalani, a mother of 2 beautiful kids. Together, we'll explore raw and candid moments that touch on every aspect of life, from parenting to relationships, career, and personal growth. Our conversations will be filled with insight, experiences, and tips to help you live your best life. So sit back, relax, and join us on this journey towards a happier, healthier, and more fulfilling life. Welcome back to another episode of Well Made. This is a really special episode for me because I am now officially 33. It was recently my birthday, and I thought, what kind of episode do I want to do for my birthday? And I realized I feel that I have made so much self-growth and
500 affordable apartments by providing tax credits to developers who build affordable housing. More legal woes for the owner of Evans Landscaping. Ohio's Attorney General wants Doug Evans held in contempt for not complying with the court-ordered plan to clean up illegally discarded waste on one of his company properties. Dave Yost is urging a Hamilton County judge to send Evans to jail or fine him because he allegedly stopped removing debris from the Broadwell Road location and is not submitting mandatory progress reports. Evans was found in contempt in Claremont County earlier this year. WVXU reached out to Evans for comment, but we haven't heard back in time for this story. The Kentucky Board of Education may appoint an interim education commissioner next week. A news release says the board scheduled a special meeting for September 6th to discuss and possibly appoint a temporary successor to Commissioner Jason Glass. After leading the state education department for 3 years, Glass is leaving to become Associate Vice President of Teaching and Learning at Western Michigan University. He became a target of Republican criticism for endorsing policies in support of transgender students. Legislation was also passed in this year's legislature, subjecting him and future education commissioners to Senate confirmation. Glass's resignation is effective September 29th. A national search for his successor is expected to begin December 1st.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from your part-time controller, specializing in nonprofit accounting, helping nonprofit organizations, including performing arts organizations, with their accounting needs. More at yourparttimecontroller.com. And from Indeed, designed to be an end-to-end hiring solution to help businesses attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. Learn more at Indeed.com/NPR. This is NPR.
It's Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm E. Martinez in Culver City, California.
And I'm Michelle Martin in Washington, D.C. A former leader of the far-right extremist group, the Proud Boys, will appear for sentencing in federal court later this morning.
Enrique Tarrio was convicted for seditious conspiracy and other crimes in May. This is all related to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. One of his lieutenants, Ethan Nordine, will also be sentenced today.
NPR's Jacqueline Diaz will be in the courtroom later this morning, and she's here with us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
So could you just first walk us through what's going to happen in court today?
Yeah, so the sentencing hearing for Enrique Tarrio will start today at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Tarrio is the former national chairman of the Proud Boys, and he's looking at a possible 33-year prison sentence. Ethan Nordine, a fellow member of the Proud Boys, is also going to be sentenced this afternoon. He's looking at around 27 years if the federal judge goes along with the prosecution's recommendations. And this is all for their role in a conspiracy to stop the certification of the 2020 election results in Congress and to keep Donald Trump in the White House. If Tarrio and Nordine get sentenced to more than 2 decades in prison, it will mark the most severe punishment given to any January 6 rioter. Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes was convicted of seditious conspiracy in a separate case back in May, and he received the longest sentence so far of 18 years.
And all this follows a months-long trial earlier this year. Would you now walk us through how we got to this day?
That's right, it's been a long road. The events that led to Tarrio and Nordine's conviction for seditious conspiracy goes back to January 6, 2021. Prosecutors say that the 2 men, along with other members of the Proud Boys, conspired to block the certification of the 2020 election results. What's interesting is that Tarrio wasn't even at the Capitol on January 6th. He was arrested in Washington, D.C. days earlier for burning a local church's Black Lives Matter banner. His attorneys have tried to argue for a lighter sentence because of that. But prosecutors say he still directed Proud Boys to take over the Capitol building. Nordine was actually there that day and was involved in fights with police who were trying to protect the building. Prosecutors say Tarrio, Nordine, and others consider themselves foot soldiers of the right.
And I understand that there was a hearing yesterday where some of the police officers who were attacked by the Proud Boys spoke. Can you just tell us a bit more about what happened there?
Yeah, we heard from 3 police officers yesterday. 2 of them were in the courtroom to address the court. They were U.S. Capitol Police Officer Shay Cooney and U.S. Capitol Police Inspector Thomas Boyd. Both officers got emotional during their fairly brief statement to the court. They talked about how they honestly didn't think they would make it through January 6, 2021 alive. According to court documents, Cooney had actually come face-to-face with Nordine during the riot. She said she and her other officers were beaten by rioters, many who claimed to support law enforcement. And hearing those voices really helped emphasize the pain and fear that officers felt that day, and they're still dealing with.
Once Tarrio and Nordine are sentenced today, what can we expect next?
So there are 3 other defendants who were tried alongside Tarrio and Nordine, who also await sentencing this week. They're facing between 20 to 30 years each. Other than that, we still have many other January 6 rioters who are awaiting their sentence in their own cases.
That's NPR's Jacqueline Diaz. Jacqueline, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Republicans are still challenging the 2020 presidential election results in Wisconsin, pushing false claims that Donald Trump won that state's electoral votes. Now they're zeroing in on a longtime target, Megan Wolf, the top elections official in Wisconsin. And this matters for a lot of reasons, but a big one is that the state will likely be key to deciding who wins the White House in 2024. Chuck Brownbaugh, the conversation to UWM, is with us now to tell us more about the GOP's campaign to remove Wolf. Good morning.
Hi.
Well, so, Chuck, first, would you just tell us more about Megan Wolf's role? What does she do? Who does she report to? How does that office actually work?
Sure, she's the elections administrator, officially nonpartisan. She answers to a bipartisan 6-person board called the Wisconsin Elections Commission that sets rules, controls things like voter lists, and helps the more than 1,800 local governments in the state run elections. Wolf moved up to deputy administrator 4 years ago when the GOP-controlled state Senate unanimously supported her promotion.
So 4 years ago, the GOP-controlled state Senate supported her promotion. What happened since? Why did the Republicans decide that she's a problem?
Well, of course, the top Republican, then President Donald Trump, didn't like the results of the 2020 election in Wisconsin, which showed him losing to Democrat Joe Biden by about 20,000 votes. Wisconsin was one of the states where Trump falsely claimed voter fraud. Recount and court rulings here have backed the Biden win, but some conservatives won't let that go and still blame Megan Wolf for allowing unattended voter drop boxes and other measures that they claim cast a lot of doubt on the Biden.
So there was a hearing yesterday, Tuesday. The Republicans made the case for replacing her. Do they actually have the authority to do that?
Well, yes, Democrats, the answer is no. Votes for your term is technically up, but she stayed on the job. Democrat.